News Central now at this hour begins in Nigeria's capital, Abuja, where the government says it has started paying public servants the new minimum wage of 70,000 naira and its consequential adjustment 7 months after concluding negotiation. Over 1.2 million civil servants on the federal payroll will receive the updated salary in September. The directive came through a warrant signed by the Accountant General of the Federation, Dr. Oluwatoyin Madein, instructing the Budget Office to implement the new payment. Document from the National Income, Salaries and Wages Commission outlined the updated earnings for civil servants under the Consolidated Public Service Salary Structure. This marks a significant boost for workers across all levels of federal service. Let's also tell you that the federal government of Nigeria has disbursed 24.78 billion naira to 991,261 poor households under the National Cash Transfer Program aimed at alleviating poverty. The National Social Investments Program Agency announced that beneficiaries spanned across all 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory. NSIPA Coordinator Badamasi Lawal said disbursement aligns with President Bola Tinubu's renewed hope agenda. In August, 3.83 billion naira was paid to 153,038 households, while 20.96 billion naira was paid in September to 838,223 households, with each receiving 25,000 naira. The initiative seeks to cushion economic shocks, improve household finances, and promote well-being. Finance Minister Wale Edun confirmed the second tranche of payments to nearly 1 million beneficiaries. The federal government has suspended 2 senior officers of the Nigeria Correctional Service over alleged misconduct linked to the incarceration of cross-dresser Idris Okuneye, also known as Bobrisky. The action follows a viral audio by influencer Martins Vincent, in which Bobrisky claimed he spent his jail time in a private apartment and bribed the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, with 15 million naira. Investigations are underway, ordered by EFCC Chairman Olukoyede and Minister of Interior Dr. Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo. 2 other officers from different correctional facilities were also suspended for related infractions. The government has promised to make the findings public once investigations are complete. Away from that, government has kick-started activities lined up for the nation's 64th anniversary celebration. The Secretary to the federal government, in company with several cabinet ministers, urged people to celebrate the day, saying much has been achieved in the last 64 years. Our correspondent, Amadine Uyi, tells us more.
It was a briefing to kickstart the commencement of Nigeria's 64th independence celebration. In attendance were senior government officials, cabinet members, amongst others.
The 64th independence anniversary calls for a combination of critical actions on our part as citizens and collectively as a nation. These actions include a reflection on our past and a determination to raise the banner of hope, progress, peace, unity, and development.
The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, while reflecting on the journey so far, urged citizens to celebrate the nation's democratic odyssey.
We must recognize with pride our journey to a stable and broken democratic sovereignty, which has spanned 25 years since 1999.
Other cabinet members present took time to highlight key achievements in their ministries.
In 1960, there were 45 million of them. That was the population of Nigeria. Now we are 5-fold. There are 230 million of us. not surprisingly, demand for government services, infrastructure, financing to fund education, health services, and compete with other nations have grown significantly.
In a landmark move, President Tinubu has taken a decisive step toward implementing local government autonomy by seeking a verdict from the Supreme Court. This action demonstrates his administration's commitment to a deep-rooted restructuring of the country, enhancing governance and development at the grassroots level, and also promoting effectiveness and accountability at local government level.
We are addressing the design of our roads based on the subsoil and the water table. And the funding is also a challenge. But in the ingenuity of Mr. President, he has introduced renewed hope infrastructure funding, where a number of projects are migrated into this funding program.
So what we did and what we've done for the last 10 months has been to develop a program, a curriculum, a new curriculum that will involve, integrate knowledge, skills, trades, and values.
The independence celebration, which comes up on October the 1st, will have the president give a State of the Nation address. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
And members of the PDP in Edo State, under the aegis of Aswe Oge Mandate Recovery Group, have demanded the declaration of Aswe Godalo and Osoro Dion Oge as the governor and deputy governor-elects of Edo State. And this was among some demands of protesting members of the party who protested to demand the recomputing of results of last Saturday's election declared by INEC in favor of the APC.
Democracy is a government by the people and for the people. We are asking, we have three demands. Number one, this INEC resident officer should be fired with automatic effect and with immediate effect and automatic alacrity. Those in support say, ah! And the ayes have it. INEC, by INEC guideline, have 7 days before to review results before they declare. So what is the hurry? You have 7 days to review complaint before you. So we are saying with immediate effect that the announcement declaring APC as a winner should be withdrawn with immediate effect. Those in support say, ah! And finally, the true winner of this election, 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 Dr. Aswe Godalo or Saturday Oge of the People's Democratic Party should be declared governor and governor-elect of the over 5 million people of Edo State. Those in support say, ah! The ayes have it. Please.
Transparency organizations in Nigeria say there is a need for the urgent constitution of Electoral Offences Commission to decide on electoral offences that have characterized the nation's voting process. This, they say, will stem the tide of irregularities and future occurrences of electoral malpractices and other related offences. The civil society organization made its call at a presentation of Citizens' Memorandum for Reform of the Electoral Legal Framework in Nigeria's capital in Abuja. Our correspondent Joshua Imarai has details.
The proposal of civil society is that an Electoral Offences Commission, National Electoral Offences Commission, should be put in place. And we're all aware, that this has been in the pipeline, but somehow we don't know why the political class, hasn't moved it very fast. If we had that, it will go a long way in dealing with the impunity that we see in the electoral process.
Judges who are appointed to adjudicate on election cases, they need to be trained, they need to be judges of impeccable character, and where you have judicial officers who deviate, from the law, there has to be some level of sanctions.
Among other reforms, they called on lawmakers to establish a law backing the use of technology in elections.
The reforms emphasize the need for a robust legal backing for the use of technology in elections, such as mandatory electronic transmission of election results. By doing so, the electoral process will become faster, more accurate, and less susceptible to tampering. They
also expressed worry at the lack of inclusion for persons with disabilities in the just completed Edo State governorship poll.
The issue of inclusivity within my constituency had very little presence, and I hope that the rec in Ondo will learn from the mistakes of the rec in Edo State.
Stakeholders at the engagement say the proposed electoral reforms will restore integrity, enhance efficiency, and ensure inclusivity in Nigeria's electoral process. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Iwarai.
And joining me to talk about this is a lawyer and also a public affairs analyst, Taiwo Ojumu. Good morning. Let me kick off by asking what you make of this call for Electoral Offences Commission to decide on electoral offences.
Good morning, Adebola. Thank you for having me once again. Yes, speaking of the question, I think it is long overdue. One would expect that a country that is very serious, that claims to be serious about crimes or fighting corruption and crime, should have established this kind of commission a long time ago. I think the establishment of such commission would go a long way in ensuring that matters, malpractices stemming from election would be nipped in the bud. Those who are found culpable, will be prosecuted accordingly, and yes. But because if this thing is not fought, if we do not take seriously this cankerworm, as it were, called electoral malpractices that comes in different shapes. If you do not take this thing seriously, it is like a time bomb awaiting explosion. Sooner or later, it will explode on the faces of everyone. So yes, it is long overdue, and the time for such commission to be established is now.
Well, I hear you when you say it's long overdue, but then I'm wondering, how can this commission now impact handling of election malpractice compared to current judicial system we have in Nigeria?
Yes, basically the primary function of the commission, if eventually it is established, will be to ensure to prosecute electoral offenders, and of course that would serve as deterrence to prospective electoral offenders. But then again, this is Nigeria. I always say it here that at the risk of sounding a bit pessimistic, we know what similar commissions, whose name we will not mention here now, have turned themselves into, But then it's always the right step at the right direction to to establish such commissions, because it will show that the government is actually, or the government or our leaders are actually serious about fighting electoral corruption and malpractices. So yes, it's going to be the right decision, and it's going to be the right step at the right direction. But we know that the people, our institutions are a direct reflection of the people. One cannot divorce the people from the institutions. Judiciary is not exempted. There's all manner of corruption pervades all the institutions in Nigeria. But then again, like I said, the establishment of such commission would be a signal. It would be a signal that Nigeria is finally taking seriously this canker called election malpractices.
But then, what should be the priority of this commission when it comes to effectively reforming Nigeria's voting system?
Yes, the commission, among the other things, should also push for the reforms of the electoral act, even though the Electoral Act is just a recent act, but we ordinarily speaking, there are some areas that a lot of people emphasized before the last act was amended, in 2022. There's some areas that did not address. For instance, the issue of electronic voting that, ordinarily speaking, would afford people, more people to vote, particularly Nigerians in diaspora, because the world is now shifting to a digital world. Ordinarily speaking, there's no reason why Nigerians anywhere in the world should be disenfranchised. Should be disenfranchised from voting. So such commissions can push for the amendment of can push for reforms, for electoral reforms. And then, like I said earlier, I think the primary function should be the prosecution of electoral offenders. But apart from those, apart from that primary function, they can also push for reforms. Like I said earlier, the reforms like electronic voting, electronic transmission of results in real time. That is because it has been established severally that rigging or malpractice actually takes place more during the collation, because collation is done manually. If there was a system that could ensure that results are transmitted directly without having to pass through the manual collation process, that will go a long way in reducing what we have today as rigging, as it were. But like I said, it cannot. We can't find in Nigeria. I doubt it. You can't find a society that is 100% free from crimes and corruption. But we can have a society that the crime rate is so low. It's so low to the extent that everybody is happy, and there's substantial growth and development.
Well, thank you so much for your time on the news. Taiwo Ojumo, lawyer and public affairs analyst. Many thanks indeed.
Thank you for having me once again.
Time for a break. When we return, federal government to toll Lagos-Ibadan Expressway second Niger Bridge. Join us again. Thank you for staying tuned. Let's also tell you that Minister of Works, Dave Umahi, says the federal government will toll all major roads in the country upon completion of construction and renovation. He listed some of the roads as Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, Second Niger Bridge, Abuja-Kano Road, and Makurdi 9th Mile, among others. The former Ebonyi State Governor said the tolling of federal roads is going to bring a lot of money to the federal government. Umahi said private sector members have been engaged to bring in funds, construct the roads, work with the Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission and the Ministry of Works to toll the roads. In the meantime, climate change experts have called for increased investment in climate adaptation measures that will empower children with the tools needed to drive change and protect them from the effects of climate change. And this was during a child-led conference of the Poverty Stimulation Exercise by international humanitarian organization Save the Children in the nation's capital, Abuja. Our correspondent, Idong Joseph, shares more.
The recent floods seen in some states of the country are examples of change in rain patterns, and the extreme heat conditions across the country are evidence of climate change and its impact on Nigeria. Unfortunately, vulnerable populations like children are mostly affected, despite contributing the least to climate change.
Many children are forced to leave home, get married, and work as a result. Flooding is ruining schools and learning opportunities and hurting children's health through waterborne diseases.
In a bid to empower the next generation of leaders who will be able to make changes, Save the Children has launched an initiative that will amplify the voices of young people in the country.
Today's Conference of Party Stimulation, also known as COP29 Simulation, is the testament of that commitment. It is a platform where children can engage in the same complex discussions that take place at international climate negotiations.
It is a powerful platform for expressing your thoughts, advocating for your communities, and designing innovative and creative solutions to create a low-carbon world for you and generations yet unborn.
Advocates say that if children are allowed to engage with the country for COP29, they will influence policies and actions that will affect their lives. They call for the commitment of world leaders as the day for the 2024 Conference of the Parties draw closer.
Our expectations are clear. We want to see decisive actions to limit global temperature rises, reduce emissions, and increase investments in climate adaptation measures, particularly those aimed at protecting the most vulnerable, who are the children.
Climate change awareness initiatives for children, advocates say, are crucial towards mitigating the impact of climate change and promoting sustainable developments. In Abuja for News Central, I am Idong Joseph.
The Chief Executive Officer of the Transcorp Hotels in Abuja, Dukpe Olushola, has launched the Next Generation Foundation, an initiative aimed at supporting the education of underserved and vulnerable children. The Chief Executive, while marking her 50th birthday celebration in Abuja, says the initiative is part of a lifelong commitment to empowering others and utilizing the transformative power of education. She adds that while education changes life, it opens doors for a fulfilled future with opportunities for children who have been left behind. Odushola revealed that the foundation will be commencing its 50 by 50 project, a multi-year scholarship program starting in the 2024-25 academic session for 50 children between the ages of 6 to 18 from low-income families. The Nigeria Fair Finance Coalition has identified corruption as one of the issues stalling the nation's economic and infrastructural development. Now, this was during a roundtable discussion on combating illicit financial flows in the nation's capital, Abuja, where the coalition called for prompt action against people complicit in the act. Our correspondent Joshua Imarai has details.
The roundtable engagement on curbing illicit financial flows is holding in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. The engagement saw the convergence of several public institutions and pro-transparency organizations under the Fair Finance Nigeria Coalition. Transparency as part of the gathering said the misappropriation of public finances and ill-gotten funds has held back Nigeria's economic development.
Poverty and inequality due to the ill use, misallocation and misappropriation of resources, illicit financial flows and tax evasions by multinational corporations present significant challenges to economic development and social equity in Nigeria.
Stakeholders at this gathering say the intention of the coalition is to support public institutions in tackling the menace of illicit financial flows.
Our objectives on this project is to increase awareness and understanding that leads to collaborating with banks, other financial institutions, and corporations on promoting fair finance in Nigeria.
The intention is to work with government agencies, strengthen their regulations, work with private sector companies, ensure that their policies are in match with international best practice, ensure that communities are also holding their companies, resident or practicing within their communities, accountable for their practices.
At the end of the event, stakeholders signed action plans for both regulators and financial institutions in curbing illicit financial flows in Nigeria. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imarai.
The Nigerian police force has paraded 123 suspected internet fraudsters arrested from a Yahoo school in Delta State. Our correspondent Austin Azur reports that the suspects were raided by the Nigerian soldiers and handed over to the Nigerian police. His reports.
Relations Officer Bright Dafe at the Kwan Police Divisional Headquarters in Efru, Oyo local government area of the state, is here to brief the press on how these 123 suspected internet fraudsters were arrested in an estate in Efru.
I was one of them who are made to understand is sick now. After 2 weeks, because they got there 15th of September, not even up to 2 weeks, who used one of the laptops that they gave to him for the business of internet fraud to chat his mom that, "Mommy, this is where I am. Please come and help me." And that was how one of them, who had a link with the military, informed the military, who went into that estate to raid them.
The police image maker said interrogation revealed that the suspects have trainers called chairmen, recruited boys between the ages of 17 to 25 years into the HK, popularly known as Hustling Kingdom or Training Center, after deceiving them that they were into forex training.
These are people that ordinarily are supposed to be in the university studying. We are made to understand that some of them, their parents are not even aware that they are here. But that will not stop us from attributing 85% of this blame to poor parenting. If your child is missing for even 2 weeks and you claim not to be aware, which police station did you report? If we teach our children good values, I don't think they would even find themselves in such a way that they will meet and pair with the wrong people who will mislead them into the business of HK that they call Hustlers Kingdom.
One of the suspects, who narrated how he was lured by his friend from Ibadan to Efrum, also provided further information about how they were brutalized and deprived them access to their family members and phones. Another confessed how they deprived them of food and health care.
I'm so happy and I'm so glad because I have freedom since 9 months that I was there. I've never set my eyes to see sun like this, and they used to beat me. I used to live in fear because if I do not catch work, I do not move work for them or collect money, they will be beating me mercilessly.
I came here to hustle.
What kind of hustle?
Yahoo.
The first time I come, then the next day I the carry system give me, but I never sabi anything because now just 3 days. They just asked me whether I get Facebook. I say I don't get Facebook. So they come sit or make I define how to get Facebook. The following day, 9 soldiers come. Now they come pack us for the house.
One of those chairmen who own and operate the hustling schools said they operate a cryptocurrency training center.
I'm a dancer, I'm a realtor, I'm into crypto, I have my brand, and I'm a blogger too.
Is that what you've been teaching them?
Of course, yes sir. Yes, sir. Especially the crypto part of it.
According to the mouthpiece of the police command, these suspects you are seeing here will be charged to court in the days ahead. In Ekpa, for News Central, I'm Austin Azu.
And now to stories from the ongoing 79th United Nations General Assembly. Kenya President William Ruto says as some nations are increasingly choosing unilateralism and militarization over dialogue and diplomacy, the them versus us mentality has escalated tensions and eroded trust in the global multilateral system. He said this on Thursday at the 79th session of UNGA. According to Ruto, sophisticated cyber attacks on critical infrastructure and climate change are increasingly fueling instability and conflicts around the world.
The world is at a challenging moment and in a most precarious international security dispensation. The promise of the United Nations Charter to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war has been profoundly shaken. From land to sea and from air to the outer space, global peace, security, and stability are increasingly under threat. Conflicts and tensions pervade every frontier, undermining the collective security that international cooperation seeks to uphold. Cases of polarizing narratives, factionalism, social upheavals, organized crime, war, and stockpiling of weapons of mass destruction are at an all-time high. Great power rivalry is intensifying, provoking regional competition and inducing geopolitical and geo-economic realignments and tensions. the subtle nuances of them versus us has produced negative coalitions, wars, tensions, as well as eroded trust and confidence in global multilateral system.
Now let's head to the side event of the ongoing 79th UNGA, where Global Business Africa Initiative brought together influential African leaders from government, business, and civil society to explore economic opportunities across the African continent. Notable speakers on Thursday were former Vice President Yemi Osinbajo and Director General of the World Trade Organization Okonjo-Iweala, while speaking, pointed out several challenges affecting trade in Africa.
One passport. So for business people at least, so that they could move quickly and freely, I don't think we've arrived there. Some of the major infrastructure projects that could link countries, and here's where you come to trade, they're still on the drawing board. And the one thing I will always continue to say, the cost of doing trade on the continent is too high. It's like adding another tariff onto goods of over 300%. With that, it's very difficult to compete. And we can bring some of those costs down by digitizing some of our trading processes, implementing the trade facilitation agreement of the World Trade Organization. We've shown that countries that implemented it are seeing their trade costs come down dramatically. But the average implementation worldwide is 70-something%, but for our continent it's 40-something. Okay, so why don't our countries implement that and help to bring the costs of trade down?
Former Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, while speaking, emphasized the need to look at regulations to aid startup businesses in Africa.
I think it was Eva who spoke to that, the whole question of market access. And that is so crucial. And that's a very crucial part of our work, to ensure that startups in Africa have market access. Yeah. In other words, where they're able to do cross-border transactions. And the way to do cross-border transactions is to make entry level and barriers to lower barriers and make entry easier. Yeah. And the way to do that really is looking at regulations. How can we help? How can we handhold, literally, our startups so that they can do business in any of our jurisdictions? And that involves quite a bit of work. It involves the foundation itself engaging in the practice in every jurisdiction and bringing the help and results of that to our own startups.
Still staying with UNGA, the alarming statistics that 1 in 5 girls worldwide is married before the age 18, with even higher rates in least developed countries, prompted the SDG Media Zone to discuss and emphasize the urgent need for systemic change. Panelists at the SDG Media Zone, a side event of the 79th UNGA, called for comprehensive legal and social reforms to protect the rights of women and empower them for a better future. Our correspondent Chidima Ona tells us more.
Child marriage has long been a devastating issue in Africa. In the least developed countries, the statistics are even more alarming, with 36% of girls married before adulthood and 10% before age 15. At the SDG Media Zone in New York, a prominent panel moderated by Kayode Akintemi, Managing Director and Editor-in-Chief of New Central, confronted this urgent issue. The First Lady of Sierra Leone also shared her efforts to combat early child marriage in our country.
Early marriage, in my own definition, is a form of legalizing rape. That's my own definition of early marriage, because a child cannot give consent, and if a child cannot give consent and then you allow a child to be married, that means you're forcing somebody else to rape that child. And since becoming the First Lady of Sierra Leone in 2018, I took it upon myself to make it my agenda so that people have to stop these cruel habits. And 7 years later, we are now able to ban the practice because I've managed to get the whole nation to understand the effect of early marriage on our girls.
The impact of early child marriage on African women and girls is profoundly damaging. During the discussion, Natalia Kanem emphasized that child marriage not only severely limits their educational and economic opportunities, but also threatens the lives and health of young girls.
If you know that the pelvic system of a young girl under 19 is not fully developed, it's about 80 to 88% developed, then you know what the ramifications are when she has to undergo sexual intercourse and carry a full pregnancy. So they have complications of obstructed labor. They can have uterine rupture and they can die. And if they don't die, there are morbidities that they have after that pregnancy.
To effectively address this issue, a shift in social norms is essential. Panelists explore the reasons why eradicating child marriage has proven challenging.
Why, therefore, is the issue still remaining very persistent? It's basically 4 issues. One is that this is a violation, a violence against girls that had almost been normalized when it should not be normal because it's abuse and rape.
Time and again, African women and girls have stood up and told us what they want. And the best protection that we have is for an African girl to know her rights, for an African girl to know her own body, for an African girl to be encouraged that the sky is the limit and that we are going to back her up.
As discussions progress on improving Africa, empowering women and addressing girl-child marriage are seen as crucial issues. The panel delivered a clear message. The time to act is now, as the lives and futures of millions hinge on decisive action against child marriage. In Lagos for News Central, Chidinma Ona.
Thank you for staying with us. The news continues in West Africa, where Guinea's government dismissed reports on an emergency near the presidential palace in Conakry on Thursday. After rumors of gunfire caused panic in the capital, now local media initially reported an evacuation in Kalom district, home to key government buildings. Special forces were deployed, but the presidency denied any unrest, calling the claims false and fabricated. A statement broadcast on state TV urged citizens to continue with their daily activities. Memories of the 2021 coup marked by gunfire in the same area have heightened tensions. Guinea's military leaders, under General Mamadi Doumbouya, faced pressure to hold elections by 2024, though they admit delays are likely. We head to Senegal, where Prime Minister Sonko vows to investigate what he termed widespread corruption under the previous government, accusing it of having fiddled with its financial figures. According to Sonko, President Macky Sall's regime lied to the public and also to its partners, fiddled with the figures to give an economic, financial and budgetary picture that had nothing to do with reality. Sonko adds that the policy of unbridled indebtedness under the former president has led to the use of resources that is not transparent and is conducive to widespread corruption. Sonko and President Bassirou Diomaye Faye swept into power in Senegal in March on a pledge of radical change in the West African nation.
Le régime du président Macky Sall a menti au peuple, a menti aux partenaires, a tripatouillé les chiffres pour donner une image économique, financière et budgétaire qui n'avait rien à voir avec la réalité. Même si nous soupçonnions, et même si nous avions quelques éléments de preuve que la situation du pays n'était pas au beau fixe, nous étions loin de nous imaginer que les choses étaient si catastrophiques. Nous allons demander aux Sénégalais de consentir à des efforts extrêmement importants les années à venir. Le ministre de l'économie en a abordé certains sur la subvention, sur la fiscalité et sur beaucoup d'autres aspects.
The main opposition leader in Eswatini, formerly known as Swaziland, has been poisoned as part of assassination attempt and has been treated in hospital, his party says. Mungusi Makanya lives in exile in neighboring South Africa following a violent crackdown on pro-democracy activists in Africa's last remaining absolute monarchy. Makanya leads Podemo, one of the leading pro-democracy party, which are theoretically allowed but banned from participating in elections. Podemo says the attempt on its leader's life comes ahead of planned protests next month calling for multi-party elections. And for more on this, we have the spokesperson for Swaziland Solidarity Network, and that's Mfanafuthi Nsela. He joins me from Johannesburg, South Africa. Good morning from here. Just provide us with overview of the allegations surrounding the food poisoning of Mungulusi Makianya.
Thank you very much for having me. In fact, Mlungisi Makanya was the president of the People's United Democratic Movement. There was an assassination attempt over the weekend where he was poisoned. He was poisoned, and the person who poisoned him, he locked him in the room and waited for him until he thought that he was dead. Then he left. He took his phones and left, leaving him for dead. And he was in fact, the doctors have found that he used a very, very poisonous and lethal pesticide to try and kill him. So at the moment, he's fighting for his life. He's in a very critical situation. And the person who has done that, who attempted to kill him, is somebody who is known. And the government has already been threatening Lungisi to kill him. It's not that it was just something that came out of nowhere. He left Swaziland. He was forced into exile 2 years ago, where the Swazi army bombed his house, and almost it fully destroyed his house. And he was forced to leave, to run away from Swaziland. So his life has always been in danger, and they've been threatening, the government have been threatening that people, even if they go out of Swaziland, they still be able to apprehend them, or they'll still be able to catch them. So it's something that we have always known, that because we know that activists in South Africa are still at equal danger as they are in Swaziland.
Okay, just to follow up on that, your train of thought, what's it like, or what's been the reaction so far of activists in Swaziland and also those in exile?
I think what this has done is for the first time, for myself, in the first time I've seen the people of Swaziland so angry and about what the government have attempted to do. Is they've crossed the red line. There have been a lot of assassinations and assassination attempts before, and nothing has happened. Nobody has been arrested. I think you will remember that a few years back, one of the human rights lawyer, Tulani Masuku, was assassinated after a day. The same day after the king was posting and threatening people, posting about having mercenaries, South African mercenaries. So people are very angry, and I would say that they have crossed the red line. It's going to be very difficult for Swazi people to be able to look at the enemy, or at the regime, at the ruling regime, the way they've been looking at it. So even efforts to try and resolve the Swazi impulse, or to remove the dictatorship by structures like SADC, is going to be very difficult now, because the people are very angry, and it's not going to be easy for people to think about negotiating with the very same regime that is killing them.
Well, thank you so much for your time. We do wish you in particular also safety out there, as well as recovery from Makaya. Thank you so much, Mfanafuthi Nsela, spokesperson for Swaziland Solidarity Network. Many thanks indeed.
Thank you very much.
And that's all on the news. Let's take a look again at some of the major stories. Nigerian government has begun payments of new minimum wage to civil workers. Government has released 24 billion naira to 991,261 Nigerian households under the National Cash Transfer Program. We also told you that Senegal's Prime Minister, Sonko, has pledged to probe immediate past government over corruption. To follow us on social media, we are at News Central TV. You can watch us live on DSTV, channel 422, Star Times, channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Adebola Adedugba.